Well, hey, what's up guys? This is Scott Andreessen with Excavation Marketing Pros, and today's video we're going to be discussing a recap of the Mile High Profit Summit that was just in Denver for contractors. And so stay tuned, we're going to come back and go through that in just a moment. All right, welcome back. So in case you're new to the channel, Excavation Marketing Pros is dedicated to the success of excavation and septic contractor businesses. And the reason why I feel the Mile High Profit Summit is an awesome event for excavation and septic is because they focus on helping contractors grow their businesses. So I wanted to go out there and see what this is all about. So on our end, we can help our clients to grow their businesses better, right? And by the way, if you are new to the channel, we have right below, you'll see in the description, a quick links that will lead you to, we have a free excavation and septic business owner mastermind and free resources to help you grow your business, okay? So make sure you go ahead and click on that. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. All right, so at the Mile High Profit Summit, this is for contractors. There are excavating contractors in there for sure. I know of some. I'm not sure if there's septic contractors, but I'm sure there is. Just to give you a recap, this organization, the Contractor Fight, has been around for quite a few years, and they've had over 6,000 contractors enrolled in their program. And this event they've been holding now for the past 4 years. And there was at least 400 people strong at this event. And they had 2 days of guest speakers. And so I'm going to cover with you who those speakers were and what they had to say. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first, one of the first speakers I want to talk about is Tommy Mello. And if you're not familiar with him, he is the author of a book, which I want to say is called Home Service Millionaire. And I have read that book. It gives a lot of good tips on sales advice and marketing and so on for any contractor type business. And so he has grown, with the help of his team, their business up to $220 million. And his niche in the contractor space is garage repairs. So, but he gave a lot of great advice on his mindset, how basically he doesn't even entertain negative thoughts anymore. And he also, to keep top talent, put together a equity incentive program, which he didn't go over the exact specifics of how that works, but basically it's tying in company profits and productivity to keep them around long term, so they get bonuses, and when the company's successful they get more. And so it helps people to look at it not just as a job, trading hours for money, but it gets them thinking long term. So he went over a little bit on that. He went over the importance of sales, marketing his business. He's really big into sales and marketing. That's a huge thing for him. So he gave a lot of insightful information, and he spoke probably, I want to say, for 45 minutes. So I'm not going to be able to cram all that into this video. I'm just going to keep trying to go through and give you little tidbits from the actual event. One thing that stood out is they only hire A players. And at his level, I mean, they can afford that, right? But that's kind of been his main thing as he built his business up, is only hiring A players. And he did mention that they recruit from other companies, that they're not going to Indeed, they're not going to Craigslist and so on. They are recruiting from other top companies. So food for thought, if you're looking for a certain position within your excavating business or your septic business, look looking that way to other competitors, and maybe you can bring an A player from them over to you. So that's one thing. The next speaker that I'm going to talk about is going to be by one of their coaches, Chris Yoda Dwyer. And they call him Yoda because he's like the mindset coach there. And he gave a lot of interesting tips about head trash, which is basically the negative thoughts that as business owners we tell ourselves sometimes that are just totally unfounded, but they're there and there's something that must be dealt with. And so some examples of this would be like someone gives you a compliment and the head trash thought might be something like, well, I really don't deserve that compliment. Or you've got to take whatever clients you can get right now, right? Kind of a desperate thought. Or you're not smart enough to figure out your numbers. So these are different things that he talked about. And then he had everyone do some breathing exercises. So it was a room full of 400 people breathing for a little bit, making breathing sounds. But it was fun. And, you know, I think we all got a lot out of it. So that was helpful. Before I get to the next speaker, I want to say the main theme of the event is know your numbers. First off, sales and marketing was huge. So knowing your numbers, they really stress a minimum 50% gross profit on every job. And that's true. You really need that kind of wiggle room to grow your business and to have enough left over for yourself. So knowing your numbers, sales and marketing, I will cover some of their sales tips as best I can in this short video. And also dealing with head trash, you know, positive thoughts. And then they also gave a lot of great advice just on systems and processes for managing and operating your business. So I'm going to cover some of those. So let's go ahead and get into the next speaker. They had Linda Alvarado is her name, from Alvarado Construction. And now this is a big company. They do hundreds of millions of dollars, and she is listed as one of the 100 top richest women, self-made women in the United States, something like that, with well over $230 million net worth or something like that. You can look her up. But she gave some good advice, and she started as a laborer. She started as a laborer and built her business up, and she kind of went through the whole story. And it was an amazing story. You know, she started as a laborer, and they really didn't want her because she was a woman, and they didn't think she could do it, and yada, yada. So she had to prove them all wrong. And her big thing was investing in people, that she wanted to make sure she's working with the right people. And so as she built her business up, it was always about the people, investing in the right people. And she gave a good saying that it's better to prepare and prevent than to repair and repent. So preparation is key. I got another one that's kind of similar to that. It's an ounce of prevention is worth a lifetime of cure. Kind of the same type thing, but yeah. So that she kind of went over her story and then just talked about investing in people, and so both Tommy Mello and her kind of mimicked the same message, although his was way more sales and marketing oriented because he's dealing in the home services market. But both of them were all about investing in people, is how they built their businesses up. So, all right, let's keep it moving. Next up, there was a coach there, Derek Johnson, who owns a business, Secret Gardens. And he talked about his sales process, which he calls assignment selling, which is very interesting. That when someone fills out for instance, a contact form, or say they text or they call in or whatever, you give the lead an assignment. And what you might do is, in this case, send them images of what they want and ask them to choose. So for the excavating and septic type business, excavation, say they want to clear land, that maybe they want to clear it for a pond or something, that you would have several images of ponds just to kind of get their beak wet, right? To have them envision this, that maybe you've done, and you would text them the pictures of, here's this pond, yada, yada, yada. Here's another pond that we did, yada, yada, yada. And here's the third pond, yada, yada, yada. Which one of these do you like? And so he would start off like that, of texting them images and giving them homework. And that's kind of how he handled it. And he went through a whole process with that. Yeah, so that's kind of all I'm going to say about that, because I want to keep this thing moving for you. The next speaker was a guy, Micah Miller. He owns Easton Outdoors. And he talked about scaling his business up to 5 million, which he actually called scaling a turd to 5 million, which is pretty funny. He said for his steps that scaling up to 1 million was all about a people problem and the ability to answer the phone. He said if he had to dumb it down, getting the business to 1 million was having the right people in place and answering the phone. Past that, he said 1 million to 2.5 million, it was a sales and marketing thing purely. That he had the people in place, and from 1 million to 2.5 million, sales and marketing was the main thing that needed to be worked on. And then from 2.5 to 5 million, it's purely a systems problem. That from him to get to 2.5 to 5, they really had to go through all their systems and processes and really tweak that and refine it to get him up there. Now, he did give some other tips, and he mentioned that he niched down several times to the point where now they just do one thing when they used to do several other things for his outdoor business. And what that did was actually opened up the possibility to some networking partnerships, because they no longer viewed him as a competitor, because he wasn't offering their specific service. So I think that's something important to think about, that for instance, maybe you have an excavation company, you do excavating and septic and sewer and things like that, and maybe you just niche down to one thing as an option, similar to what he did, where you might just do septic installs from now on, and you're going to remove the excavating part of your services, and maybe the sewer repairs and stuff, you're going to get rid of that. You're just going to focus on septic installs. Then that invites those previous competitors into your ecosphere, where now you two can work together and pass each other referrals and so on, and help each other out. So he did that, and apparently that worked out really well for him. So I thought I would share that. Now, another thing that he did talk about his sales process in setting their expectations, and I think this applies to both excavating and septic, and that is, he goes into detail that your yard is going to be trashed. He lets them know that up front, because that will scare a lot of homeowners, right? And property owners. So he lets them know, it's going to be torn up, and he also would have the manager call them each week with an update of, here's what we got done, here's what we're going to be working on next week. And so just a very quick call helped a lot. He also offers pay plans, and he's at a point now with his business where it's largely automated. So from the time they get a customer, they've automated pretty much everything possible that you can automate, to notifying vendors, to communicating with employees. Everyone is connected in their system and their software, that from the time they get a job, everyone knows what to do, what materials are going to be needed for this job, and so on. And now Micah also discussed his team meetings and how he conducts those. Those are a little different, where he's focused purely on KPIs. So each employee of his has one KPI that they report about. And that's how they judge, how things are moving along, if they're moving in the right direction, based on scorecards for the employees, which I thought was very smart. And he mentioned how he handles getting new Google reviews. We know the importance of Google reviews, that those are going to sell the next customer. They help out with search engine optimization, to have your business ranking higher in Google. We know all this. So the question is, how do we get more and more and more? His process that he uses is he offers employees a $100 bonus for each new Google review. So the employees are encouraged that, hey, when you're at the job, get us the review. You get the review, you're going to get $100. Now, he doesn't put a stipulation on it of it's got to be a 5-star. He doesn't say that. He just wants the review. So that's interesting. And he also gave advice on, well, if you want to run the best contractor business you can, hire another contractor and see how they do. And his reasoning behind that is, most contractors, in his words, suck, and they run crappy businesses. So by hiring them to do some of his honey-do list, he got good ideas of what not to do. So that's what he said. He also mentioned the importance of posting every day on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, little shorts, little videos, quick little narrations of what they're working on, where they're at, and distributing those across the platforms. And I can tell you that's proven, that helps. Now, something that is a trend that we're seeing in the contractor space is posting prices. And that's kind of a highly controversial type thing. But it seems people are moving in that direction, and I'm going to go over another guest speaker that is his whole claim to fame, is posting prices. And so what he did, because there is variation to this, right? And he posts 3 of his past projects as examples, line iteming out what did they do there, what they got, and putting a price like that to give people an idea. Okay, and so a lot of the contractors we saw are following suit at the contractor fight, where they're starting to post their prices, and they're actually having packages to make it easy for customers to decide. Now I'm going to go a little bit more detail into posting prices in a little bit, but they post projects with before and after. They're posting prices, and they're even putting video. So. The next person I want to talk about here is the co-founder of the Contractor Fight, Neil Christensen, and he gave his talk was about using strategic planning to create order from chaos. And so it was a lot about systems and processes and how they handle those. And they do them in a very methodical way. And he talked about how they do a SWOT analysis, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, where you list those out, and then it helps you make better decisions moving forward of what kind of processes you need to implement for your business. And how they actually set up a 2-year plan for their business, and then focus on the rocks that are going to be needed to move forward to reach that 2-year plan goal. Now they also have every full-time employee report on KPIs, where they give them a specific number to report on, and it sounds like they're using an EOS type system, if you're familiar with EOS. And then he did talk about how you're measuring the performance of a business using leading and lagging indicators. So an example of a leading indicator would be something like made 12 sales calls. The sales team made 12 sales calls today. And a lagging indicator would be like 5 people called about a job, because that's something that happened afterwards. And so I thought his talk was pretty interesting, and he he kind of summed it up with saying, you have the leader, the visionary, who creates the culture for your company, and then the culture helps the employees to adapt to working with you, and all that translates into profit, is basically the flow as he described it. Now, the last speaker that I'm going to talk about is pretty popular, and that is Marcus Sheridan. And so he is the author of the book called They Ask, You Answer, that's very popular among contractors, and that is posting prices, how to write your content to show up in search engines, as well as posting prices and answering questions. So he talked on that. His talk was actually more on AI. So I'm going to discuss a little bit more on AI and how they're using it for their business. And he did say that you should not build your house on Google search, meaning there's other ways. A lot of excavation and septic contractors believe that search engine optimization is the answer, and he didn't say it's dead, and I'm not saying it's dead. We see a lot of good leads come in from SEO, but building your entire marketing plan just based on SEO, he agrees, is not the answer. And so he discusses other things to do to help bring in business leads. Now, when it comes to writing content, he has what he calls the big five. And that is, when you write the content, it needs to include 5 key elements, which is going to be cost, problems, your comparisons of whatever it is you're selling, reviews of whatever it is you're selling, and then the best type of whatever it is you're selling based on whatever application. So if we were to apply this to, say, excavation or septic, let's say septic. So cost, what are the costs of a septic tank and the installation? What are the problems of the different septic tanks and installations that can come about? And what kind of comparisons can we make among the different septic systems? And what are the reviews of the different types of septic systems? What are people saying about that? And then what is the best type of septic system for what type of application, right? For this type of soil, for that type of soil. So that's kind of where he was going with writing content. He did go into selling, and that, are you selling differently is a big thing. He mentioned how everyone is selling the same, that, they might just be doing a post on Facebook with an image saying call, and how that's wrong, and I agree with that. And he mentioned, the future is going to be AI, and how he describes it is there's going to be a avatar of himself on his website that is powered by AI that looks the equivalent of like a Zoom call. That would be the quality of the AI avatar version of Marcus, and it will be programmed well enough and sophisticated enough to have conversations based on whatever the user wants to talk about. And so that's pretty cool. Now, he does recommend putting prices, but there's a key to prices, and I mentioned this earlier. When we talk about prices, the price in the beginning, the pricing that you put on your web pages and so on when they're in research mode is going to be vague pricing, right? It's not going to be the price you're going to give them. I think people have that misconception. Is his whole point about putting the pricing is when they're going to be making a big purchasing decision, which, excavating and septic, a lot of these are bigger purchases, right? $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or more. And they're going to be doing their homework and researching. You want them doing their homework and researching through you, that you are the expert providing this information for them, because that's what's building the trust. So they learn what they need to know from you. He talked about how AI helps to bring in more leads, and that it's all based on signals, meaning that if you're just focusing on content, building your house on Google search, so to speak, that's not going to work. That you also need to be posting on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, because that whole signal is what Google is looking at to help rank you and send leads your way. He also mentioned sending a one-on-one video to prospects, and that was echoed in other contractors at the contractor fight, that they will do that when a lead comes in, they will send a quick little personalized video to them. Hey, Betsy, I saw you just inquired about clearing your land. You're doing a little selfie video, and, my name's Scott, and I'm looking forward to help you with that, and I'm going to send you out some pictures of other lots that we've cleared recently, okay? And then you send it to them. So that's how he recommended handling sales. Other contractors are also doing that approach of just the short little video with the homework that I mentioned before. Now he mentioned, we were talking about prices and everything like that, is 70% of all buyers, he says, want a seller-free experience. And so what he's trying to work towards is that, are you able to put together packages where you have your pricing well enough where they could actually come up with their own price, and by the time they get to you, they already have the number in mind and they're ready to buy. Now, to help with that, he said they spent a lot of time putting together an AI tool for bidding. And so I'm going to look into that AI tool and test it out and see if it would work for excavating and septic, and I'll let you know on that later. But my three big takeaways from Marcus Sheridan were that people want to dictate their own sales process. They want to self-serve. And I think that's true. A lot of us, if we could just click a button or whatever and order it like we do from Amazon, ideally, that's what we would like to do. He also firmly believes that we can have digital avatars of ourselves helping to sell. He mentioned that, everything is moving towards AI, the writing of content using AI and so on, but not to rely on it purely as is, that you still need to add that human touch. You need to have a human editing the content and then adding personal touches to it. And I would agree with that. And so I think I will close this out with Tom's final thoughts. So Tom Reber gave final thoughts at the end of the event, and he talked about a little more about the selling process that he does, reframing it through a lens of gratitude. So what he means is, like, for instance, when leads come in, rather just calling them saying, hey, how can I help? Starting off with a comment about gratitude. And so he would say something to the effect of, thanks for taking time to fill out my form. I really appreciate it. You could have gone to 100 other excavating companies or 100 other septic companies on Google, but you chose us. And so how can I make this easy for you? I thought that was pretty brilliant how he put that. And so I'm going to use that as well. I like that. He talked about the importance of building relationships, that, his business was built off of relationships. He mentioned selling unafraid, that, a lot of contractors sell like they're not going to get the job or worry about losing the job, I think is a better way to put it. They sell worrying they're going to lose the job, that someone's going to give a cheaper bid, they're going to lose it. But his whole thing is, sell unafraid. Your number's your number. He also talked about cash flow, saying that speed is king and don't mess with the money. And what he meant by that is, he referenced a lot of other contractors that have come through his group, and the customer might be like, do you want me to give you the check now or should we wait? And the contractor business owner might say, well, we can wait, I'll pick it up from you tomorrow or whatever. And he mentions, no, take the money. If they're going to give you the money, take the money. It's better in your bank account than their bank account. And then he gave a couple other tips. One was on unintentional touches, which would basically be reaching out to previous customers or leads that are hanging around, and just calling them up out of the blue and, saying, how's it going? We did this thing for you a while back. What are you up to now? And that has stirred up a lot of business. Rather than just waiting for it to come in, you're more proactive. We're more proactive in reaching out unintentionally. It's unplanned, just going and doing it. And then he mentioned how he's the style of not wanting to do texting back and forth, that he would rather talk on the phone. And so I agree with that, a lot of tonality and things can get lost over texting. It's so easy to just send it to hide behind a cell phone and text, but the human interaction is what's going to build the business and make the sales. So that's pretty much it. Lots of notes, took lots of notes on this. It was a fantastic event. And he did mention at the end that this was probably going to be their last live event. Now, I don't know if that's true. Tom is known to have many surprises, right? And so we'll see what happens next year, if they have another one of these or not. But it's a fantastic event. They have a lot of contractors in there, and they have a lot of value online in terms of courses and things like that and coaching. So check them out. And hopefully you found this little video helpful. Any questions or comments, just go ahead and type them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like this content, we'll put out more videos like this, okay? Thank you so much. Take care.